Welcome back to Our American Republic. In this episode, we'll talk about the executive branch of the federal government. The Constitution expressly placed the executive powers in the office of the President, but when we look at modern perceptions of the office, it is pertinent to ask whether public perceptions accurately reflect the limitations of the office that were defined within the Constitution. Historically speaking, most countries prior to the United States of America had been ruled by a monarch or some other autocrat with absolute or near absolute powers. The founders did not intend for our president to be an autocrat, decreeing laws and collecting taxes as he or she wished. Where the Constitution vests legislative or lawmaking authority in Congress, the president receives only the power to execute those laws. The authors of the Constitution specified how our president would serve the people and the states as an enforcer of laws created by the Congress, rather than rule the new constitutional government. The founders clearly laid out the roles for the president in Article 2. These roles include Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, author of treaties with foreign nations, limited grantor of approval or veto authority for federal legislation, and appointer of certain government officials including ambassadors and judges. It is worth explicitly contrasting the role of the president with the Congress and noting the limits placed upon the executive power. Under the Constitution, the president has no power to make laws. The president only enforces them. Furthermore, the president is not required to make any inputs on laws, taxes, or federal budgets beyond an approval or veto, a veto which can be overridden by a supermajority vote of Congress. And, although the commander of the American military, the president does not have the power to declare war, and military funding must be legislated by Congress. Also, even though the president negotiates treaties, these treaties must be approved by Congress. And lastly, presidential appointees must be approved by Congress. So, even though the president is sometimes described as an elected king, he or she is completely dependent upon the Congress for approval of his or her actions and the funding of the executive branch. He or she cannot decree laws, but only enforce laws as enacted by Congress, and no king faces an election every 4 years. Under the Constitution, the office of the president is certainly no more than balanced with the Congress. With the constitutional limits placed on the presidency, the founders intended a great deal of power to remain with the houses of Congress as representatives of both the people and the states that had originally created the federal government of the United States. How did so much public expectation become vested in the executive branch? How do we enforce presidential accountability and limited authority under the Constitution? Unchecked, could a future president simply nullify the legislature, as has been done in Germany in 1933 or Russia in 2007?